Mike, when you think of garden decorations, what comes to mind?
Bench, water feature, maybe, if it's a fancy garden. You know, like a cherub or something.
For those of us from, let's say, humbler backgrounds, things like plastic flamingos and garden gnomes come to mind far before. What did you say? Water cherubim? Like, what sort of garden did you grow up with?
I don't know. You're a man of the people.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us about plastic flamingos?
The original pink lawn flamingo was designed in 1957, which just like, of course it was. Like, I think of the 50s when I think of plastic flamingos. Maybe that's just me. Anyways, the designer was a gentleman named Don Featherstone, an American artist who became famous for this work, and rather oddly for the fact that he and his wife dressed alike for like 35 years.
This just went viral. Like, I just saw pictures of this just 2 weeks ago or something. But I figure we should probably just not pay too much attention to that exact fact. It's not relevant for the lawn flamingo anyway.
Yeah, let's just keep going.
The first pink flamingo's name was Diego and has become an icon of pop culture, winning Featherstone the Ig Nobel Prize for Art in 1996.
The yard ornaments are often installed in flocks overnight to celebrate a person's birthday or graduation in a funny but kind of tacky sort of way.
That's so wild to me. The kitsch status that the flamingo has achieved is partially due to a 1972 film named Pink Flamingos, which is rather upsetting to read about, so don't worry about it. The plastic birds were also an ongoing joke on the old TV show Alf. They've been in the computer game The Sims as well, where they are the cheapest garden decoration available.
Despite their rather lowbrow status, Featherstone's work has been ripped off over and over throughout the years. However, if you want to know what's a genuine pink flamingo, well, they were made by the company Union Products. They were the company that actually Featherstone worked for. They made them from 1987 until 2001, and they can be identified by the signature of the artist located on the rear underside of the flamingo. Your neighbors may have questions if you're turning over their flamingos looking at their rear underside, but just say, hey, I'm seeing if it's authentic or not.
Yeah, Sam, I believe in the authenticity of flamingos.
Mm-hmm.
The official birds that you can get from, or used to be able to get from the Union Product Company, are sold in pairs, with one standing upright and the other with its head low to the ground as if it were feeding. This is the kind of factoid you won't only get on Ingenious. This is the type of thing you can tell people. It's like, oh, did you know that they're sold in pairs and they're actually different? Well, now you know.
Union Products stopped making the birds in 2006 and sold the copyright along with the plastic molds to a company called HMC International, who in turn sold it all to Cato Manufacturing in 2010. Cato is still creating the official plastic flamingos today.
So they don't have the Featherstone signature on them, right? They're not like signature edition.
Right.
Is what I would assume.
Not a collector's item.
Not a collector's item. Speaking of getting official, we're talking about the official plastic flamingo company. There is nowhere more official than Madison, Wisconsin, who named the plastic flamingo their official bird in 2009.
I love city government so much. Like, I love it.
It's just, Madison really needed to be in the national newspaper for some reason, so they made their official bird a plastic lawn flamingo.
Exactly what it is.
Of course, plastic flamingos have a cousin. They have brethren. The garden gnome, which is a very British invention. We'll discuss that after the break.
This episode of Ungenius is brought to you by Circle. Every now and again, a product or service will come along, and when you hear about it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. And I think Circle is one of those products, and I'm excited to tell you about it. We should start by acknowledging that those of us with kids in the house often hear the phrase, just 5 more minutes, in conjunction with the kids using technology. And it's easy to see why. There's about 1 billion distractions on iPads and iPhones, Fortnite, Snapchat, Instagram, the list goes on and on. Circle is the easiest way to manage your family's time online across all of their devices, and it's cool because it works not only in the house when you're on your home network, but it works when they are away as well. The Circle Home Plus works in conjunction with the Circle app, so parents can filter what content is allowed on certain devices, set limits for screen time, monitor history and usage, and each family member has a profile that's fully customizable to meet their needs in terms of age and maturity. So I got a Circle Home Plus a few weeks ago. It was really easy to set up on my network. I just plugged it in, and the Circle app walked me through getting it set up. It's all very simple. Once it's set up, I can create profiles for every family member. So I created one for the kids. They're all pretty close in age. They have similar time and allowance on their devices. And so go in there and say, okay, I want this sort of content filtered out. They only get this much time on the internet. And it was all really easy. I've used some of these products in the past that have complicated web dashboards. Like, none of that's here. It's just on my iPhone, and it makes it easy to understand what's going on. Right now, our listeners get a super limited time offer for $30 off a Circle Home Plus. If you go visit meetcircle.com/ungeniused and enter the code ungeniused at checkout. That's $30 off when you visit meetcircle.com/ungeniused. So go give it a try. The URL is MEETCIRCLE, meetcircle.com/ungeniused, and the code ungeniused to save $30. You're always going to worry about your kids, but with Circle, you can make sure they have a healthy relationship with their technology, so you have one less thing to worry about. Our thanks to Circle for their support of Ungeniused and all of Relay FM.
The garden gnome, just as iconic, I think, as the plastic flamingo, and it feels much more British, I think, the garden gnome. They're usually depicted as male dwarfs in red, pointy hats, usually standing between 1 and 2 feet in height.
They often have beards. They can be seen holding pipes, and they enjoy leisurely pastimes like fishing or napping.
They've got quite the life going on, the gnome.
They do. Not a lot of stress in Gnome Land. I get the sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd want to be outside 24/7 and made of terracotta and be 18 inches tall, but the rest of it sounds pretty good.
Garden gnomes have a far longer history than the humble plastic flamingo. In ancient Rome, small stone statues were often placed in gardens. In the Renaissance, stone gnome statues were often spotted in the gardens of the rich and famous as well. So, suck it, flamingo, I guess.
Wow.
Yep.
Over time, gnomes became more commonplace. See, they became the gnomes of the people. Mainly during the 1700s in places like Germany, they showed up in most homes and gardens.
The garden gnome got his big break here in merry old England. In 1847, Sir Charles Isham bought 21 terracotta gnomes manufactured in Germany and placed them in the gardens of his home in Lamport Hall in Northamptonshire. Likewise, Sir Frank Crisp showed off gnomes on his estate, which was open to the public during the 1910s.
Due to their ties with Germany, gnomes became less popular after World War I.
Oopsie.
The gnome economy took a real impact after the war.
Gnome economy.
Oh, that's good. But Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs helped popularize them again just in time for World War II.
In the 1970s, gnomes returned to fashion, and by the 1990s were pretty much commonplace again.
It's a real roller coaster of history.
I wasn't expecting we were talking about World War I and II today, to be honest.
Well, I have some bad news. We're not quite off the roller coaster yet. Gnomes have become controversial in serious gardening circles across the UK, and for a time were banned from the prestigious Chelsea Flower Show as the organizers claimed that they detracted from the garden designs.
Well, I do have some good news. Gnome enthusiasts kind of got together and accused the organizers of the Chelsea Flower Show of snobbery.
Sick burn.
That feels like an obvious thing for the Chelsea Flower Show, honestly, but that's like a whole other thing. The ban was lifted in 2013.
That's a real relief.
Can you imagine what those meetings must have looked like amongst the Chelsea Flower Show organizers about removing and then bringing back the gnomes?
I don't want to think about that.
The garden gnome is now deeply woven into pop culture, appearing in countless movies, TV shows, and advertising. Assuming nobody starts another world war, they should be around for generations to come.
I wouldn't joke about that.
I should know when to keep my mouth shut.
Oh my gosh. For the record, I did not write that in the script.
No, I added that. That was my own invention.
I'd like to thank Adina for sending in this topic.
That's my wife. This is the things we talk about when we're on vacation.
Yeah. She texted me. She's like, you have to talk about plastic flamingos. And I said, it is done. So now it's done. If you want to learn more about this stuff, you can head over to the website, relay.fm/ungenius/83. While you're there, you can get in touch. There's an email link there in the sidebar. You can send us your own topic, and it'll get added to the list. Or you can find us over on Twitter. Mike is there as IMYKE, and you can find me on Twitter as ISMH. And until our next World War, Mike, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Adios.